Hi, everyone. This is honestly really intimidating, but I'm so excited to share with all of you my experiences so far at OU. So, to start off, I'm going to tell you all a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I was the first one in my family and all of my extended family to graduate high school with a high school diploma. So not only so not only am I first generation college student, I'm a first generation high school graduate. I now attend the University of Oklahoma, where I am a junior undergrad studying human relations and women's and gender studies, where I have achieved a 4.0 the last 3 semesters. Theories are starting to get hard, so we'll see if we can keep that up. so I One of my biggest accomplishments at OU so far is I have been accepted into the Ronald E. McNair Scholars Program, where this presentation is a little snippet of my actual research, which is called Rushing the Queer, Infiltration, and Moral Navigation of Historically White Greek Life. Another important factor about this is I am a gay Mexican-American male in a historically white fraternity. So as folks like myself with marginalized identities infiltrate spaces in higher ed, I find that the spaces that I occupy at OU are still predominantly and hegemonically white. Although the courses I have taken, like queer theory, contemporary feminist thought, and cultural awareness and Latina feminism and sexuality, while they have alleviated some of my ignorant perspectives in life, I still find that the intercultural ignorance that my institution has on a systemic and social level still has so much work to do before I can ever be proud to call that place home. Being first generation and low income, there's so many disadvantages that I'm already set with, and so many challenges that I had to face. I wanted to have the full experience of college. I wanted to be able to do Greek life. I wanted to be able to do summer orientation programs. I wanted to do all these amazing things, but no one in my family could ever give me advice. While I did grow up whitewashing myself because I felt like white was right growing up by going to a really white high school, I still found more comfort in doing things in white communities on campus. And so a friend told me, if you go to OU and you don't go Greek, you're doing OU wrong. And so I felt more comfortable trying out the white organizations because in reality, I didn't feel Latino enough to be a part of the Latino ones. I associated my ties with my Latin identity to my ability to speak Spanish fluently, and I felt like a fraud trying to pretend to be super Latino when in reality, my Spanish skills were kindergarten, and I'm barely associated with the culture because I grew up with my white side of the family. So when I was going to OU, I knew that I would do better in the white spaces because my white passing identities have better mobility in the whiter spaces than the way that they are. My white passing identities have more mobility in the white spaces than the ways the marginalized identities are. They're not confined to the same boundaries that marginalized identities are. In fact, whiteness sets the boundaries. And so I want to bring some theory into this because while I am doing this research and everything, the theories that I've used as my theoretical framework have been really important. And something that's been really important in my experience relates to visibility and recognition theory. Something that I believe that we all long for is to be seen, to be recognized as individuals and that we wish to be, and for the most part, that we are. And so this quote from Judith Butler's Undoing Gender says, "Recognition takes place neither as an event nor a set of events, but as an ongoing process, one that also poses the psychic risk of destruction." Throughout my time in my organization, I wanted to so desperately be seen as equal. I wanted to have the same success as the next person with dominant identities. And so I tried my hardest when I first was going through the rush process to be so straight, to pretend to be straight and put on this persona that I was just like the rest of them. I didn't feel like the rest of them. I don't know how I justified joining an organization where I felt like I needed to hide part of my identity. But I did have this mental breakdown. We've recovered from it since. I had this mental breakdown one day, and I was like, why am I here? My imposter syndrome was flaring. Why am I here? Why am I a part of this? Why am I even in college? But this specific breakdown was more about, am I in the right organization? Should I put my time and effort in this? So I had to have answers. I had to get them. Luckily, my pledge trainer was someone that was very approachable. He was one of, we call him Dad. He's literally just Dad, because he looks like a dad too. About to be. Anyways, so I went to him and I was like, Vicar, I need to know, like, am I in the right space? Am I doing the right thing? Like, do you think I belong? And his message back to me, which was a really long message, was one that was so profound and impact on my entire experience from then on out that I keep it in my notes app. I keep it in my notes app on my phone, and I reflect on it every time I start to doubt my existence in the fraternity again, which is a lot. And so the thing that stuck out the most to me that he said was, being a candidate has nothing to do with sexual orientation. Political views, or whatever anyone may feel, isn't in line with the OU Greek system. Being a candidate is about being able to prove yourself by being a part of something bigger than just you. This made me feel so recognized. This was a straight white man with money telling me, this first generation low-income Mexican American from Tulsa, Oklahoma, that I was great for it. I was perfect for it. I was one of the most involved people in my fraternity on campus. I can't imagine doing college without being involved, and he validated me. He validated my place. And so something else I want to talk about is tokenism and tokenization. So this right here is my fraternity house. I lived in it as a sophomore. It's one of those big southern fraternity houses, brand new. And I used to think that I was the token gay, that I was the token liberal, that I was the token Mexican. And I kind of went along with it. Like, I didn't know any different. I thought that's what a token was. But it wasn't until a perspective-changing conversation that I had with a faculty mentor on campus where she challenged me to rethink, like, do you really think you're a token? With the work that you're doing, do you really see yourself as a token? And so she made me think about it, I talked about it, and what I've come to define tokenism now is someone that doesn't look like the dominant group, but they reinforce their culture, they reinforce their behaviors and their actions, and they don't disrupt the space. But my queer body is always disrupting that space, so therefore I can't be a token. Every time I play Spanish music and sing along, I'm disrupting their space. Every time that I throw it back better than any of their girlfriends, I make all of them so uncomfortable. I really do, though. I make all of them so uncomfortable that I'm disrupting their space. But I've been able to infiltrate this space because I kind of go about things in a way that they see as like recognizable and appropriate, and I'm not disrupting too much. Which brings me to the way that I engage in activism. My type of activism is tempered radicalism. Without the help of my departments, I would not know what this was. I would not know how to actively go about engaging in tempered radicalism. But I'm going to tell you what tempered radicalism is. Tempered radicalism is being kind of on the inside of the system and having those small little victories to do change. And so there's been several times where I've had to explain white fragility, where I've had to explain why Black lives matter, where I've had to explain why trans lives matter, and why they're being disproportionately murdered at a high rate. And so, moving on, when I engage in tempered radicalism, there's so much self-care that needs to happen because my resiliency can only go so long. My stamina for ignorance and these racial conversations where they're committed to misunderstanding me can only go for so long. And so without the help of these three mentors that I have, the Javi Holy Trinity, of these three Latino women, Dr. Sarah Mata, my NUF mentor, Paula Lopez, my queen, and Dr. Merelsi Velasquez, my McNair mentor, these three women have kept me in check at OU. Dr. Velasquez called me out. She was like, you're engaging in this white supremacist work. What is your role in this? And so without the help of my friends as well, I would not have been able to go through my entire time at OU, because Audre Lorde did once say, without community, there is no liberation. But something that I also have to address that Dr. Velasquez made me think about is, what is my role in this system? Where do my morals lie? Where am I complicit in this system, in this white supremacist, because IFC, historically white Greek life, it's a white supremacist system. And it's full of patriarchal and toxic masculinity, white fragility, all these different things, but I still participate. How can I call myself an activist and call myself someone who's dedicated to doing social justice work when I'm still engaging in these systems? And so I have to, take it back a little bit and be reflective on that. And so I have a few key takeaways for you from this presentation. The first one is, for the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, by Audre Lorde. So my temporal radicalism is doing great work in the moment. I'm able to change a couple of perspectives, to be more open-minded, but the system is still going to reproduce itself. There are more white men that are going to come through this system and still continue on the system of oppression towards marginalized folks. Second, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I have never had to defend so many topics, and for them to be committed to misunderstanding me has been so difficult that they do it for the enjoyment of it. And I have to get comfortable with being put in uncomfortable situations and being okay with saying, not today, Satan. Lastly, reflexivity. This one is the most important thing that I think I have learned through my entire time, and that I am so excited to write about more in my research. Reflexivity is the fact of someone being able to examine their own feelings, reactions, and motives, and how these influence what they do or think in a situation. Who am I hurting? What identities am I hurting whenever I'm doing this work? Am I doing the best that I could possibly do? Just asking questions on, what is your role? How are your experiences playing into what you're doing? And this has been phenomenal and life-changing in the work that I do at OU. And so with these key takeaways, I hope that you learned something from this. Thank you very much.